let me share my screen. Select the language. What? Share screen. There. Cool. Everybody see the document, I assume? Alrighty. Welcome, everybody. It is not February 2nd. It is March 9th, 2023. This is the Cluster API Azure provider meeting. We are a subproject of SIG Cluster Lifecycle, and therefore we try to adhere to SIG Cluster Lifecycles to the general Kubernetes community code of conduct, which, as you probably know, boils down to please give everybody a chance to talk, try to use the raise hand feature, and generally, let's be nice to each other. At the beginning, we have a second where if you're new here or want to introduce yourself, I can be quiet for a second and go ahead and do so. I think I recognize all the faces here, but just so we're following our protocol. All right, done. And if you want to add your name to the attendee list above, that'd be great. And let's move on to open discussion. The 1.80 release is out. Woohoo! Everybody here, I'm pretty sure, contributed to this in fairly significant ways. So let's all pat ourselves on the back. There's some pretty big features, and this is a fairly significant minor release, as everybody knows. There you go, Cecile.
Yeah, I just want to call attention to the two announcements that are at the top of the release page and make sure everyone reads those if they're going to upgrade. The first one is AKS clusters are graduated out of experimental. This is huge. This has been in the works for a month, if not over a year. What this means for existing users is that one, you no longer need to use the manage cluster feature flag. And two, that means we are not planning on taking the feature away anytime soon. So we are planning on keeping it in the project and making it, continue to make it a first-class feature of CAPZ. So thank you to everyone who contributed to that, gave feedback, and helped shape the support for AKS. And then the next one is also something that's been in the works for some time, which is migrating all our templates to use the out-of-tree, otherwise known as external cloud provider. So for those of you who are not aware, there's been an effort ongoing in Kubernetes to move all the cloud provider specific code out of the Kubernetes project and make Kubernetes truly cloud agnostic, such that cloud providers release their components for Cloud Controller Manager, et cetera, like separately. And some of our templates were still using the Azure cloud provider, which is the in-tree provider. And so we have now moved everything to use out-of-tree. This does not impact existing clusters. So if you are using CAPZ and you upgrade, this won't affect your clusters, but it does impact you if you're using our reference templates or flavors to create clusters, in the sense that now the flavors use the out-of-tree cloud provider, which means that it does not install a cloud provider by default. The cloud provider is now an add-on, which means you need to take a separate step, just like CNI, to install the cloud provider. There are instructions in the docs. Please take a look and let us know if you have questions.
Cool. Anybody have any questions about the release? This document release notes are pretty clear, but again, it's pretty good work. We should all be pretty proud of this release. Let's move on. The next topic, I wonder if we should kick this to the end since Jack isn't here and we can give, just in case we want to run out of time, we might run out of time. I'm going to do so. So Dane, if you want to talk about support, bring your own network interface, let's do that first and I'll move this down. Oops.
Surely. So this was just something I kind of wanted to throw out here for a very brief discussion before I went and created an issue for it to be there. I haven't looked for an issue. Maybe there is one. I don't think there's one, but the idea is fairly simple. In certain use cases, you may need to pre-create network interfaces if, for instance, virtual machines need stable IPs, things like that. And this is something that we use and we've used in other cloud providers. So we'd be interested in bringing that capability to CAPZ. And I think the main question I had before we went about creating an issue and potentially starting on any code was just around how that should function. I did look at some of the existing bring your own things. It's pretty clear there's some tagging to represent ownership, whether or not CAPZ owns it, created it, and should tear it down or not. That looks pretty straightforward. And then it looked like there were a couple different conventions used across resources, sometimes where resources seem to be specifying entire IDs, such as maybe an image ID, or in other cases, just like a network interface name, and then the resource group and subscription ID are inferred from presumably the Azure cluster object. And I just wanted to throw that out there before we started like adding fields, what folks thought was most idiomatic for CAPZ.
Anyone have an answer for, do we have a general approach for bring your own, Cecile?
Yeah, I think in this case, you probably want to look at VNets as being the kind of model for this, since it's probably the closest example. I think images are a little bit different, not necessarily for good reasons, but I wouldn't necessarily look at that as the reference. I think VNets is what you want to be looking at. And you're right that we do some tagging to kind of say like this resource is owned by CAPZ, and the idea is that we never delete things we don't create. So we only clean up the resources that CAPZ created. And that's what allows us to know whether it was created by CAPZ or not, by this specific cluster too. So if it was created by another cluster, we don't want to delete it either, because it might be shared by clusters and that cluster might still be using it. So yeah, I don't see any concern. I think like starting with an issue is probably the best way to start. Do you know if the network interfaces are already getting tagged right now?
I believe they do.
Okay, good, because otherwise that might add some tricky backwards compatibility handling. Because if they are being tagged, then we already know which ones were created in the past, so that's good.
I will confirm and I'll add that detail to
Okay. Sounds good.
So the goal here is to open a proposal or an issue about this. Okay, great. Anybody have any more questions for Dane about this? Seems like a great idea. I was thinking somehow this might overlap with the OSA stuff, because I know, John, you talked a lot about bring your own, but maybe that's premature, or maybe not. Cecile, I'm glad you put this on here because I was going to bring it up. It seems like all the PRs are failing. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just have one more question for Dane before we move on.
Yeah.
I was actually, I'm wondering, could you just talk a bit more about what's your use case for this? Because for VNets, it's pretty obvious people want to share like, VNets among different clusters, different resource groups. For network interfaces, are you doing some kind of sharing? Like what's the scenario here?
It's a fairly simple use case, actually. The main requirement is simply that the VM have a stable IP, even if the VM is replaced. So how we've approached this in, for instance, Kappa, is that we pre-create network interfaces actually at the same time that the VPC, or in this case, the VNet is created. And those are for these specific virtual machines that we know are going to need these static IPs. They don't necessarily need to be specific IPs, they just need to be stable. Then we put the ID of that network interface into, in that case, the AWS machine template, so that when the machine deployment creates the machine, it always comes up with that, attaching that existing network interface, and it always comes up with the same IP. In this case, it's because I can give the specific application. Zookeeper, unfortunately, cares very much about IPs. It's very stateful in that way. And it has a lot of assumptions that when you replace a Zookeeper node in the cluster, that the replacement is going to come up with the same IP.
Got it. And is there no way of doing that same thing with like CabZ creating the interface? Like, let's say saying like, I want a static IP for my, or it needs to be always the same one, even if the machine is replaced.
Correct.
That's what you said.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, which wouldn't work unless you specify the deterministic IP, I guess, which I don't know if it lets you do that.
I don't believe it does currently.
Okay, cool. Well, that might be just worth checking just before we start doing all this work. But yeah, otherwise sounds good. Thanks for explaining.
It's not that you care specifically what the IP address is, it just has to stay stable. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So we just let it create. And in theory, if there were a way to specify that, then we could probably attempt to create logic that tries to find a free IP and sets that. When those templates are created, that would be a lot more logic on the, on the cluster operator side. It's also error prone because there is unfortunately a window when machines are replaced that IP is technically free if you actually delete NICs. But by leaving the NICs always up, those IPs are effectively reserved. Nothing can grab them.
Makes sense. Any further discussion about this? Any questions? No? Okay, Cecile, this test has been failing.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add so far. I haven't looked at it. I just saw this just logging on this morning and right before coming to this call. But yeah, thanks, Michael. I don't know if Michael's here, but thanks, Michael, for opening the issue. But yeah, basically, we're seeing all the end-to-end tests failing, trying to pull the kube proxy image for Windows. So something's wrong there. Something happened environmentally overnight, probably, and we have to look into what that is.
We think these are all the same
just-
bug. I'm seeing all three of these happen, and they seem slightly different, but maybe the VMSS cluster is still at count 0 when it's expecting 2, and I guess they all have Windows, so that would be it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it's all the Windows nodes are having issues pulling kube, or like the kube proxy pod is not coming up.
Okay, well.
So, and if anyone sees this in their PRs, just FYI, this is known. And if anyone knows what's going on or has an idea of how to fix it, please speak up.
Yay for fire drills. All right, let's move on. Willie, did you want to?
Yeah.
Public service announcement?
Yeah, basically it's just there's a lot of issues or bugs that are around that need help to that people if you're able to please take a look, because there's I just did a recent issue triaging of all the bugs, and there's a few old ones that seem to have I don't think anyone has looked at them in a while. So there's a lot of them that are I think pretty important to work on. So if y'all have any extra cycles, it'd be awesome to take for people to work on these. There's also a few others that haven't been tagged with help wanted, but I'm kind of just like pinging the issue creator to see if it's like still an issue. So as I respond, I'll add the help wanted tag, but for now, these are the ones that need the most attention, I think. So yeah, just a PSA for anyone who's looking for something to do.
That's great. Thank you for doing that.
Yep, no problem. And also kind of, oh, sorry, go ahead, Cecile.
Oh, no, sorry. I just want to say thanks for doing that. And also maybe we should add some of these to the milestone for 1.8 since we're about to start, planning for that. Would be a good place to start focusing on cleaning up our bugs in our issue queue.
Yeah, I don't have permissions to tag things as milestones, but maybe during the milestone review, we can take a look. Okay, so like kind of my next topic is like kind of related. So there has been a few bugs, I think, that are mislabeled as bugs, and also like features that are mislabeled because I don't think there's an issue template for stuff that isn't necessarily a bug or a feature. So it's not like if it isn't a bug, then it's a feature. So I think we should probably create like a new issue template for maybe cleanup issues or just any like suggestion issues. Because right now it's kind of just like feature request or bugs. So yeah, I haven't created an issue for this yet. It's kind of meta, but I'll get an issue out, and then I'll probably be working on that. So just keep an eye out when you're creating a new issue. Make sure you label it correctly.
Yeah, it's true. We don't give people enough options, and I have been guilty of this. Good idea.
And yeah, I think overall some of the issue templates may need a little refactoring because some of them are like kind of huge, and I end up just deleting like most of it. So maybe it'll just be part of a larger effort to refactor those.
Yeah, I agree. I end up, I mean, I know they're like HTML comments, so I can leave them in, but somehow there's a lot of clutter in the template when you actually look at it. It'd be nice if it were simpler. Cool. Any questions about templates or bugs? Should we move on to the next item? Is something Jack wanted to bring up, but he wasn't able to be here this morning, but I'm assuming it's self-explanatory. Right now, our rules about what we will cherry pick restrict us to only cherry picking straight up bug fixes back to the supported branches. And Jack's wondering if it will be okay to change the rules so that documentation is acceptable to cherry pick. People have opinions about this? Dane?
This may be a silly question, but is the doc site, can you look at prior versions of the doc site?
Not a silly question. It's actually, we've talked about this a couple times. I don't think you can, right, Cecile? I think right now we're pinned to a current version and we don't have the nav, but maybe I'm wrong. Go ahead.
So you can if you know the URL. So it's not discoverable, but there is a way to get to it. But what we've done recently is we've pinned the main book to be the current latest release instead of the main branch, because we had a few occurrences of users being really confused, coming to us saying like, I'm seeing this in the doc, I'm doing the exact same steps, but it's not working. And then we're like, oh, that's because that's not released yet. So this feature doesn't exist in your release. So in order to avoid that, since the book is meant to be mostly user facing, we changed it to be based on the latest release branch, which means that if we add docs mid-cycle for something that already exists, or we make a doc fix, then that won't actually get to the book until the next minor unless we cherry pick it, which is I think where this suggestion is coming from. I'm +1 on this. I think it's a good idea, mostly for doc fixes though, not for net new features, of course.
So when we released 1.8 yesterday, did we also have to manually go over to Netlify and say, now point to the 1.8 branch? Is that part of the process?
We have to. I don't believe
still
we
have
done it yet. I don't know if Jack did it. I didn't do it. So I'll follow up with him. But yeah, that's something we need to do. And we also need to go and update the test infra test, which we haven't done yet either. So that's one of the post-release steps.
Okay.
And it's part of our release process doc too.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with including documentation updates, especially since that's the only way to update what most people are, the docs that people are going to see. since most people won't know how to navigate to, you know, the main branch version. Anyone have any pushback or other feedback here? Seems like we're passively agreeing. Okay. General agreement was in evidence. That's all we had on the agenda, but do people have anything else they want to bring up before we look at a milestone review? Let's.
Mike has a hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Oh, hi, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick question about the hosting. Is just basically the learning how is just following the directions at the top and volunteering 1 week, or is there something else I should follow up on ahead of time? I can't do it next week, but I was thinking perhaps the following week I could help out with some of that.
You mean to host this meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, there's no secret stuff. You just show up and follow the script, and you've probably seen Cecile and me and Jack do it so many times you could do it off by memory anyway.
yeah. I just thought I'd follow up and see if there was anything special I should do ahead of time or not.
No, but that'd be great if you want to do it in a couple weeks. We will pencil you in.
Oakley dokley, sounds good.
Awesome. Yeah, so milestone review could be more work this time since, okay, 1.8 still has some stuff attached to it because we didn't finish these quite in time. I think that's true for all these. Yeah, so I assume by default this just means we want to move to 1.9. Yes,
Yep.
instead of next. All right.
Yeah, and we probably want to close this one too now.
Come on, Ajax. There we go. Oh, let's close it. Woohoo. And then that looks like all we have on the 1.9 milestone, so we haven't assigned anything to this yet, other than the carryover. So the two sources of input are going to be everything we threw into next. It's tempting to say by default this should all go in 1.9. Is that what we've done in the past, Cecile?
I don't think so. I think the next is more like a general catch-all of like, oh, we're not doing this right away, but we should do this. I don't think we've been very good at triaging next. But I think maybe this time we could start from either next and or like the bugs that Willie was talking about.
Yeah.
So like we kind of try to prioritize that before we fill it up with more stuff. But then, yeah, after that, it's mostly like things that people have already said they're going to be working on. Like, for example, if Dane wants to start, you know, on the bring your own network interface feature, that would probably go in an issue and then go in the milestone.
Yeah.
But there are a few in here that look like they would definitely go in the milestone.
Well, I mean, I think most of the things that are already PRs and that haven't gotten rusty should go on the milestone. This, Nawaz, thank you for following up on that, by the way. This needs to be addressed soon. This has a PR out there to fix that. This is a lot of effort, I know that, but that's probably going to happen soon.
I think the webhook code, sorry, the webhook code one, Willie, did that already
Yeah,
merge or is that about
That's
to merge?
still, it's like failing on some E2E test for some reason, so I'm just retesting it. But yeah, it's about to merge.
Great.
Okay, probably the Q proxy image, but yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I guess I'll just scroll slowly, and if we are pretty sure any of these go in the next milestone, then just shout it out.
Could you put metric server in there?
Okay, do you
think
think they'll
That
have
we
a new
should
release?
follow up, hopefully by May. Yeah, because
Okay,
it's getting. Oh, actually, we have to do it in this milestone because just GCR.io is going away April 3rd. So we should
That's
actually
true.
follow up on this within
well,
the
it's
next
not
week.
going away, right? It's going to be frozen with old contents, isn't that what they're doing?
Is that what's happening on April 3rd? I don't want to spread false information, but yeah, I know something's happening on April 3rd.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely supposed to stop using it on April 3rd. I'm not sure it's
Yeah.
actually going away, but
Matt, I think we also want that depend about code gen
Think so?
update in the next month. Yeah.
okay. Well, and then
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I don't know that we'll actually fix all that, but that's the time frame where we're supposed to have a replacement. Workload identity, yes. Let's hope. As well as the proposal.
Also the implement outbound type.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. This cluster with cloud provider. Pretty sure that's not true anymore, but
Could that be why
And
the
we
Windows
put-
stuff stopped working?
which one?
Remember how
This
the
is-
Windows stuff stopped working last night? Could that?
No, that's unrelated. I think that issue's been open for a while. I fixed that, and then I think someone asked to reopen it. I should look into that. So we're testing out of Tree Cloud Writer with Windows now, and that's been merged for over a week without issues. So I'll look into that. Yeah. Should the cluster class one be in there, Willie, or is that too much hoping? Above, I think it's a bit higher. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure because this is still like blocked on it being implemented in CAPI. So maybe I'll add it once that gets unblocked.
That's good. I don't know if we're actually going to get to this point or not. What do you think, Cecile? Migrating
I think
or
it's
just a proposal?
the issue for the PR that you already put in there, so I don't think it hurts putting it in there too.
Okay.
And aspirational.
Let's get bootstrap data. Okay. Well, I guess let's call that okay for a first pass and put all these in the other milestone. Little progress animation. There we go. And then we can bounce over to this list that Willie came up with and see if any of these are good candidates. This is about to merge, except we're blocked by the E2E failure. This has a PR out there that John has looked at and looks like this should merge soon, I think, right? And then what other ones do we think ought to go on the milestone?
I think most of these aren't that big. They're just like looking for people to work on. So I'm not sure if we should just add all of them that aren't assigned. Or some of them are assigned, but okay, that one has a PR. So that should probably be good. The Windows cluster with cloud provider.
Yeah, that was my PR that already merged, and then we reopened the issue afterwards. But that one we already put in the milestone, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, we did, yes, you're right. Generator is broken. I don't know. Some of these are definitely good first issues. So I don't think that they should call them a milestone, but well, does any of these other ones, or should we just call it good with these couple?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much we should add to the milestone now that when it's not assigned, because we just need people to pick these up. And then maybe when they're picked up, we can add them to the milestone. And maybe we should go from the bottom up because there's some old issues that's been happening for a while that probably should be fixed. Like that one.
Yeah. Ashutosh is assigned to this, but I don't know that he's really working on it.
I'm not sure who put on the help one, and maybe hold on, maybe I put that. Oh wait. Okay, I think there was assigned and then okay, this is
Seal
already
said help
assigned.
wanted, and then Ashutosh assigned it to himself, and then we haven't really
It's
gotten
been
anywhere.
kind of inactive. Oh, yeah, that was part of the triaging. I was just trying to
Okay.
see.
Well, no, that's good.
Yeah.
Do you think it'd be help to put it on the milestone so that it's in our faces, or just leave it where it is?
Yeah, I think milestone would be good since it's assigned and he was working on it.
Okay. And then this we've talked about, it's already on the milestone. This is assigned to someone, but I'm not sure they're actually working on it yet. So I think I'll just leave it there. Okay.
I think the issue by Nawaz should be a quick fix.
This one, the skew error, or
Yeah,
okay.
I feel like that could be a good one to put in. Some of the other ones seem a little larger. I know the one where it's like E2E test scripts should not edit files outside of git ignore is a kind of a hard one because I think this has been attempted before and it doesn't. It's just a way with how like E2E test scripts need to like change the registry to use like the local host, but then tilt requires the gcr.io one, so it's a little bit like of a conflict there. So
Yeah,
maybe a little hard to fix.
it would be great though. I think we've all managed to commit these files accidentally at some point.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice if we had a solution, but I agree. I don't see it obvious thing to do. Okay. Should we call that good for a first pass, or do we want to actually go through all the issues? How about let's not. Unless people, I mean, obviously at any time, we're all encouraged to put these on a milestone. If you don't actually have permission to add stuff to a milestone, just ping one of us, but we should all be doing this as a continuous activity. This is just like because we forget to do it. Ideally. Does that sound good, or do people want to look through the open issues? All right. That's all we had on the agenda. Anything else? Go ahead, Cecile.
Sorry, just forgot to add this earlier, but there are two PRs open right now to add two new reviewers to CAPZ. One of them is Willie and the other one is Nawaz. They're both here. So I think PRs have been open for over a week now, and we set a lazy consensus expiring today after office hours. So if anyone has, I think they want to add before it merges, please do so, possibly in the, next hour or next few minutes. But yeah, just wanted to call this out, and congrats to Willie and Nawaz for, all their help with being a reviewer already, and I think this is just recognition of their efforts. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. More reviewers, always better.
And also, sorry, if anyone else who is here would like to become a reviewer, we're definitely looking for more reviewers. And sometimes, you think you need to be doing this for a lot longer than you actually do. I think being a reviewer is also part of the learning and towards becoming an approver. So if you're interested in, getting involved there, like, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions and talk about it. And yeah, it'd be great to have more folks.
Okay, unless people have some final comments or something else to add. I guess not. Let's call it good for today. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next week, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Matt.